Hey, what's up guys? This is PJ. Today I'm back with book recommendations for Type 6 of the Enneagram. This series has been tremendously fun for me to make because, you know, a lot of these books that I'm recommending are books that I have read in the past, and every time that I recommend one of them, it brings back memories of, growth, so much learning that happened because of these books. So today I have a lot of books prepared that have been tremendously impactful in my life, and I know that for somebody out there, for somebody that watches this video, they're going to be just as impactful. So let's go ahead and get into the video. Today we're talking about type 6. The type 6 is called, in one tradition, it's called a loyal skeptic of the Enneagram. So these are the people that are very skeptical. They don't believe. It's similar actually to type 5, but with the difference that type 6 has a lot of attention and focus on fear. So fear is a big underlying factor that kind of runs their lives. And the primary belief that a type 6 individual holds is that we live in a vicious, fearful universe, that you have to always be prepared. Things can go wrong at every turn. And the element of trusting in the universe and trusting that things will be fine is sometimes the thing that's missing in a lot of type 6 individuals. And as you can imagine, for any of us that's not a type 6, just by hearing that, that's such a hard reality for us to fathom and imagine living in. A reality in which you are always fearful. And a lot of times, though, this fear is not always noticed by the type 6 individual. So it's like somebody or something that's running things behind the scenes, and there's no conscious awareness of them, but nonetheless they're pulling the strings, they're running the show, and fear is that thing that's running the show. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the book recommendations. The first book is a mandatory read, I feel like, or should be a mandatory read for most of us, most people, because the circumstance that this gentleman went through is probably the most harshest circumstance that a human being can ever go through. This man survived Auschwitz, the concentration camp in Nazi Germany. And he wrote this book while he was there about human mind's perspective on things and how impactful your perspective can be on your quality of life. So if you have a perspective that things will work out for the better, even in the midst of the most chaotic situation, you can still find hope. And those who found that hope survived Auschwitz in most cases. So this book is called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I think Viktor Frankl, I don't know if he became a psychiatrist after he left Auschwitz, or he was already a psychiatrist and then went to Auschwitz and kind of tried to figure out the psychology of the living versus the ones that end up dying. Because he says in the book, like, there was always a moment where the hope would disappear from someone's eyes, and you could always tell, he says, from the eyes. It was almost like the glimmer would disappear, and that's how you can determine who's gonna die and who's gonna survive. Because the moment the hope left, he gave it 3 days maximum for that person to survive. Because when when a human being lost what they looked forward to, lost a hope and a dream for a better future, they had no desire to live and continue surviving. So, with that gone, they would just give up, and it would be a game over, basically. And so the reason I chose this book is because fear is a perspective, but so is love. Love is also a perspective. Believing that all is well is a perspective. Believing that, things will work out for the better is a perspective. And our perspective is so important in our attitude and how we feel on a day-to-day basis. So you could argue that starting with perspective is the best first step for any of us to start with. Like, if we can get our perspective in a healthy and good place, a place that is in accordance to truth, because there is an absolute truth. But our perspective can be the thing that's creating what we feel to be true in a moment. So I personally, believe that the absolute truth is that we live in a loving universe, and that no matter what the outside world is showing to our perception, to our eyes, to our senses, underlying all of it is love. And I know that if you're type 6 and you are used to living in fear, that seems like such a way out there kind of idea. But again, let's start questioning our perception of fear, because our perception is our perception, it's not the truth. But our perception can become close to truth. And so this book is literally just an introduction to the power of perception for us. And then that's why I chose it as number one. And so now, going into book number 2, this is more in line with what I was saying about I choose to believe that we live in a loving universe, that things will work out for the better. Where did I start thinking like that? Where did I get all of that, you can say, operating system into my mind? Because fear is an operating system and love is an operating system. It's all about which one do you have installed, because if the one that you have installed in your mind is the one that's going to be running the show. So this book, I've already recommended this in type 3's video, but again, my goal is to recommend books that are going to be good for all types, even though they're going to be primarily good for the type that I'm recommending them for. But I mean, these books are so powerful they can change any of us lives, basically. So, A Return to Love. I recommended this in type 3's video, but I'm recommending it again by Marianne Williamson. Why am I recommending this book to type 6s? Because just like I was saying about fear running the show, we need to make a return to love, because as children, just a baby, when it's born, I believe that baby, when it's in its mother's womb, it's believing in love. It's believing that all things are well, that things will work out. I do believe that baby is trusting. It's surrendered to a divine will, a good universe, and it's trusting that things will be taken care of. And a lot of times type 6s, the reason they become fearful is that during their childhood, during their very early years of life, they might have had an unpredictable parent, or an alcoholic, or they were in domestic abuse, or situations like that were highly unpredictable, that they could never feel like they're safe. And because of that, that programming started from an early age and started running the show, that programming of fear, and that things might go bad in an instant. So you have to always be vigilant, and so on and so forth. That programming got installed when they were young, and it still ran the show as they got older. So this book is a great start to help you dismantle that program of fear, to start believing in love, and therefore start experiencing love, because what you believe can determine what you experience. If I believe that right now things can go awful, well, my experience is going to become highly, influenced by that belief that I hold in my mind. And there's a great book by Bruce Lipton called Biology of Belief, and in that he talks about how the beliefs that we hold can impact our biology, our physiology, and how healing, the body really starts with the mind, healing the mind, and having the mind hold more ideas that are conducive more to healing. So highly recommend this book. And another thing that I recommend you guys do, or any of us do, if you're into the Enneagram, look at the direction of the arrows, whether they're going, where does your type go in disintegration? So type 6 in disintegration, they go to type 3. So I had recommended this book already in type 3's video, and it's because types, not only the 3 goes to 6 when it's feeling better, when it's integrating, the 6 goes to 3 when it's disintegrating. So in both of those points, it's good to get back to truth, you know, because you're gonna go there. Like the 6 is gonna go to 3, the 3 is gonna go to 6. So, you know, a book that's good for your point of integration or disintegration is also gonna be good for your type. So check those videos out. So if you're type 6, make sure you check out type 3's video, because that's where type 6 goes in disintegration. And when it goes to integration, it goes to type 9. So I haven't made that video yet, but soon it should be it should be on our YouTube page. Maybe by the time you see this video, I'm doing one a week. So in a few weeks, I'll be at type 9's video. So I'll leave that there. This book, highly recommended. Check it out. It's gonna completely change the operating system of fear. All right, so the next book that I have in mind for type 6s is a book that the title is super cheesy. For a long time, I didn't read it because I felt like sometimes you see a cheesy title or like a super self-help generic title, and then you're like, yeah, there's nothing of content there for me. And that was a wrong perception that I have, and I know a lot of people also kind of avoid the super mainstream books because they're like, I don't know about that one. It might not be as rich in content, but I was pleasantly surprised because one day I just felt called to pick that book up. My girlfriend had it, and so I started reading it, and I actually started really, really enjoying it. This book is, you might already just know based on seeing like the color of the cover. It's called You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. So why did I recommend this book? Because type 6s, not only do they kind of doubt the nature and the intentions of the universe, but they also doubt themselves a lot, and they doubt their own greatness a lot, because how you see the macro really affects the micro. So if your view of the macro universe, if your view of the universe is one that it's not, you know, in your favor, it's not a universe that supports you, well, you being an extension of that universe, you might also hold those beliefs about yourself. So getting the right view of reality can highly determine how you view your own reality. It's like universe has an absolute truth, but your universe is the one that you live in, you know, and that one is created by your thoughts. And thoughts have consequences and have an impact on your life. So getting the mind right through books like this, through books like A Return to Love, all these great books, they really, really help change these old programmings and start experiencing life from a whole new perspective. So, next book I have recently started reading, honestly, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't finished it. And usually I don't like to recommend books that I haven't finished, but I trust these authors so much and have enjoyed all their other books that I have read so much that I'm sure it's going to be great. I've read the first few chapters, and obviously just from that I knew that it's going to be a good book to recommend. And it's called Safe People by Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. They are the authors of Boundaries. And Boundaries was a book, for me as a type 9, Boundaries was a book that my girlfriend introduced me to, and it completely changed my life because as a friend of mine says, you have love and then you have boundaryless love. And boundaryless love is not love because it's not loving towards you. And so their book, Boundaries, really helped me understand that concept a lot better. But Safe People, the subtitle says, How to Find Relationships That Are Good For You and Avoid Those That Aren't. Why am I recommending this for type 6s? Because type 6s, I feel like they deeply yearn for a relationship where within that container they feel safe, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel loved, they feel secure. But because of their previous experiences and because of the programmings that they hold related to the universe being a fearful universe, a lot of times they have a hard time trusting people. They have a hard time opening up to people. They have a hard time calling in new friendships and new relationships that are good for them into their life. And a lot of times we call in relationships into our life that are just a reflection of what we believe we deserve. And it's also a reflection of what we have experienced in the past, and therefore we think that's all we can get. And so you might have experienced, you get a new relationship, you get a new friendship, and it seems that it's good for a while, and then all of a sudden it becomes the same problem that infiltrated and impacted the last relationship. The same one shows up now in a different disguise in this new person, but it's the same problem. It shows up and you're dealing with the same thing. Why? Because I do believe that the friendships that we attract, the relationships that we attract, a lot of times have to do with how we see ourselves and how we see ourselves, what we see ourselves deserving of. And so this book, just reading the first few chapters, really helped me change basically how I discern, how I discern a relationship that's good for me and how I discern one that's not helpful for me, and start bringing in and inviting the ones that are good for me more into my life. And so for type sixes, they are very skeptical, very doubtful of people, and it takes a long time. The reason they're called loyal skeptic is because they're skeptical, but then once they commit to a person or something, or an organization or a team or a group, they become so loyal. And the thing that they say, the phrase that they say about them is that they go down with the ship. So even if they see a relationship is bad, even if they see a team is bad, even if they see an organization is bad for them, they're going to hold on and be loyal, because again, it's harder to let go of something that's giving you a sense of certainty and safety than to jump into the unknown again. And type sixes, they don't want to jump into the unknown again. So if you are the person that tends to hold on to something that's not good for them, even if they have clearly seen that it's not good for them, then wouldn't it be better to become better at discerning what is already good for you, what is better for you, who are the safe people that you can attract into your life? Then you know yourself to become loyal to people. So it's better to become loyal to people that are going to be great and good for you, good influences for you. And this book really helps you figure out what those influences are and go from there. So I think those 4 books are a great start for type sixes to kind of start the journey of not only knowing their type, because that's not the goal of the Enneagram, at least not the way I see it. That's not the goal. Okay, I know my type. I now know the problems that I have. The goal is not to know the box and leave it at that. The goal is to know the box and then step out of that box. Step out of the slavery of your personality's programming. And these books that I recommended for type sixes are going to be, I feel like, immensely helpful in helping you navigate the journey from in the box of type 6 to outside the box of type 6. So it is my deepest hope that you find them helpful. Please check them out. Let me know if they helped you in the comments. So thank you for giving us your time. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and please stay tuned for the other types videos. Thank you.